Hello and welcome back to Popeye Plays Higurashi Chapter 3. This is the 9th episode. Last time we saw Sadako come back to school and saw that she was quite traumatized. Once again, I want to applaud the makers of this game for a fairly realistic representation of what someone might how someone might act, or things they might experience, or things that might trigger them while they are experiencing abuse. Once again, I will issue a warning that this game does have abuse in it, and we are now planning to murder her uncle to resolve the situation. So let's load right into the next chapter where we will plan our murder. Oh, not load. Continue. Wrong button. Me and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Oh yes, also we've become kind of a dick. Yes, Fire Swamp. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting it up for the festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. Well, Fire Swamp, today we plan a murder, so think you'll enjoy it. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. I mean, you know best, Fire Swamp, all plans go out the window, so we'll see how far our plan lasts us. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we'd get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% rate. Yes, you are your own enemy, therefore your plan does not survive contact with yourself. Sounds about right. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. They do a lot to determine whether they really were false accusations, but figuring out who the real criminal was is usually out of the question. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. Just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult-to-solve incidents involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff. They all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes. Perfect crimes were skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak dash they were calling the Curse of Oyashiro-sama, I understood they must have been the works of gods. Sadly, we are no god. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah. Skills belonging only to gods, those are perfect crimes. Now I'd be setting my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame. but as systematic as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of these ideas within me. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Except it is, because if it's a mystery novel and you're like 14, chances are it's pretty well known and people can just look it up or have heard of it. Sometimes kidnappings involve disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper or used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. Geez, they love not making backgrounds for this, although I guess we're in the shower, so that's kind of a good thing in this case. But they could have had an inside picture of the house. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. Hey Mom, if you were to kill someone, how would you do it? She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her.
これまでの推理小説の中で母さんが一番よくできたと思った完全犯罪
And there we go, he just straight up asks his mom, what's the best crime of all time? For no ulterior motives, I assure you.
うん。母さんって結構たくさん推理小説を読んでるでしょ。そういうの詳しいかなって思って。
それを読むから楽しいのよ。初めからトリックを教えちゃったら楽しみがなくなっちゃうわ。
Murder isn't fun, Mom. Well, maybe it is. I guess we'll find out soon. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first to draw an answer out of her.
そうね。よくできた推理小説。結構どれもこれもいろんな魅力があって、どれが面白かったとは言いにくいけど、強いてあげれば。
Just straight up ask, so if you were to murder someone, Mom...
母さんの好きな小説のタイトルが知りたいんじゃないよ。母さんが一番舌を巻いた完全トリックが知りたいんだよ。
This just sounds like the most poorly written novel right here.
本当に完全なトリックだったら名探偵に解く余地がないじゃない。
That was true. Then there'd be no point.
推理小説は解ける謎をいかに解くかの過程を楽しむものよ。解けない謎だったらそれは推理小説の題材になり得ないわね。
そっか。そりゃそうだよな。主人公に解けなかったらお話として成立しないもんな。
Unless the main character's the murderer, then it's fun. Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game, as is murder. They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks, so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
ということは圭一、真の完全犯罪は物語にすらならないというのがわかるかしら。
Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I'd never gotten to read it, but apparently one time, a long time ago, in a murderous galaxy far, far away, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently, she was really into it. Don't even become stories, what does that mean?
圭一、物語の最低構成要素は？
起承転結。
正解。特に肝心なのは当たり前だけど、 木に当たる部分よ。スタートの木がなかったらそもそも物語は始まらない。
そりゃそうだよ。何も起こらなかったら何も始まらない。
そう。何も起こらないから事件にもならない。探偵も呼ばれないから推理もない。推理がないなら解決もない。つまりこれが究極の完全犯罪。
ちょっと待って。もう一度説明してくれるかな。
My mom just told me something absurd. It really wasn't that absurd. Is this really that hard of a thing to understand? If nothing happens, then nothing can continue because nothing started nothing. Here we go. She was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out, but why are you tuning her out? Like, you asked her this for a reason, and then you're not paying attention to what she's saying? She said something extremely important just now.
そんな難しい話じゃないわよ。そもそも事件が発覚しなければいいだけの話。
そもそも発覚しない事件。
つまり、例えばよ。
Yes, Fireswamp, just fill in the pieces you missed with what you would do. Except when you were 14.
誰も立ち入らない
I
深
don't know
い
if
森
you
の
being
奥で
14 makes it better
お
or
じいさんが
worse.
一人暮らしをしているとする。そのおじいさんがある日斧で殺されました。ちなみに犯人はじゃあおじいさんの息子ね。おじいさんの家に来て一緒にお酒を飲んでいたんだけど、ちょっと喧嘩になって殺してしまった。
What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. I think that's what most murders end up being. Not too many people premeditate their murders. Unlike us. It could be better or worse. Perfect. It was pretty far from a perfect crime.
でも圭一、そこはとてもとても深い森の中の一軒家なの。普段は絶対に誰も訪れない深い山奥の深い森の中。さて、殺した息子は町に帰ってきてこう言うの。おじいさんは元気だったって。
それのどこが完全犯罪なの？
圭一、この事件はね、おじいさんが殺されているのが見つかって初めて木を迎えるのよ。もしもこの後誰もおじいさんの家を訪れなかったら永久に木は訪れない。
Well, I'm glad chat's talking about their love of explosions. I think I can see where Fireswamp would go in this murder. Blow up the house. The beginning would never occur.
だからつまり物語は始まらない。事件が発覚しないから探偵も呼ばれない。そもそも誰も不審に思わないから謎も起こらない。おじいさんは今日も一人でのんびり森の奥で暮らしているんだろうね。で、お空におじいさんの顔が浮かんで、ジエンド。
Yes, ma'am, you thought Fireswamp would listen to you, especially at 14?
どう？こんな感じで。
すごいじゃないか。それちゃんとしたトリックだよ。
でも娯楽小説にはならないわね。推理小説は所詮娯楽書。完全犯罪の指南書にはなり得ないんだから。
I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside, I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash, none of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Except we already know he has friends who he invites over to drink with, so someone's going to eventually figure this out. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of the Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. I think you're taking this way too lightly. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. We're just gonna go straight away and do it? I left, getting my bike out of the garage. I love this. You just have a conversation with your mom and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go now. It's not related to our conversation about murder, trust me, but I won't be back for a bit. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. This sounds like a game of Clue now. I'd been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time. But if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of the Watanagashi. As long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please, hold out for a little longer. I know you can't even last another second. I know that. Please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. And the music changed. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the color of lead. No, it's not. I don't know what lead you're looking at. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I'd definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I need to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable, but you are not Fire Swamp. But this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. A lot of thought being from the shower you took like an hour ago? You just need to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, though long enough, were limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. I mean, probably would fight back. I'd like to think most people would fight back if someone was trying to murder them. In that case, using a weapon with reach would be far more effective. It might not have the same precision. You just had to hit the guy until you killed him. Both options resulted in death. With that settled, what is the weapon with the most terrifying force behind it that is also easy to carry around? I'm glad Fire Swamp is here telling us that electricity is one of the best ways to subtly murder people. By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon, especially when Fire Swamp's going to pump electricity through it. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. Yes, Mim, we're modding a weapon just like in Dying Light. I'll speak about it later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun, playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there, and it would be the same as always. Nobody would think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful, even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I find him explaining later, Mim, weirder, because this is us, so it's like, the main character's thought about something that they're not revealing to us, who is playing the main character. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Okay, well, Fire Swamp is coming up with his plan, rigging his house to shove 120 volts through him, and he's going to set it up weeks in advance to make it harder to trace back to us and look like an accident. Okay, I think Fire Swamp's got a better chance of not being caught than our protagonist right now. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went to the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe, while no one was around, desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. What is your imagination? This is like a really, creepy version of Toy Story. Fire Swamp has come up with an effective sounding plan to take over the world, apparently, as a teenager. If I suddenly stepped into a place like that, would the desks in their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive? I think our character's getting a little bit paranoid if they're wondering if desks will eat them.
バカバカしい。
I felt regret wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. The students' lockers are lined up in the back of the classroom. Yes, much lockers, cubby holes. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. Don't want to use your own bat for murder. It was a forbidden locker, one I had accidentally discovered one day.
あった。北条。間違いない。
If one person has one locker, then why would only Sadako have two? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. One time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless, at the time. I hadn't been interested, so until now I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, which once again to Fire Swamp is a completely different thing, I remembered the thing that had been there. Scrape! I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym store that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes, the sound of jingle bells. Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform, and it. The one Satoshi used, the metal bat. Yes, this was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role, it was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Sadako's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. We're a pinch hitter, apparently. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now I just needed to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it, because I couldn't ignore the possibility that someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. If I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. The only construction vehicle that we wanted to draw. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. Really? The teacher tells you not to do something and kids listen? They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it, in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off. And from what my classmates had said, thing had been left here for years now. Machines that hadn't been moved in years can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost definitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercing hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dulled thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple hits in the head and then looked around warily. Ellipses. Okay. Next. How to dispose of the corpse. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way to not create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi Village. You can almost take this game seriously when you don't think of the distorted art. I'm still waiting to see what this game looks like when we go and try and murder a man with this dumb artwork. I may switch it over to better artwork for it, because it might not be serious enough. Or it may just be even better. We will see. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi Village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. We're planning on killing Sadako's uncle, the blonde-haired girl, her uncle. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. But I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, and I felt the theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. All you need to know is he's an abusive dick. That's about it. But they may have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Yes, nothing is bottomless. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rika-chan's mother drowned herself in the swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse too, it was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and actually accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of the corpses coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse here too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Sadako's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But as for the corpse, after a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. Sorry, Fire Swamp, we're not using half of your name. Actually, we're not using any of your name. No fire and no swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway. It was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. Then what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him to pieces and hide him, but the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then where would I bury it? Was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, and to make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I need to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations our uncle would head to from Sadako's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head, which we were too lazy to draw, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think our uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagochi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he'd pass through these woods first. I nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Sadako's house, or one of two other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him, in these woods, probably right there. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went to the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Sadako's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? That man made Sadako do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival, or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Sadako go to the festival? Sadako would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Okonomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? It didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, because this is well before caller ID existed, that told him to come, and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Sadako, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Sadako would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Sadako to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Sadako to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact to get her there. Sadako should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on her former peaceful days. When she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body. So it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me while I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I'd wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew further away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, The voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place.
穴を掘るか。
Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. Human-sized is the answer. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This is probably all I was going to be able to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out, but Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I need to get her to promise Sadako to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worry started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. Just a little bit. Killing people always makes me just a little bit anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure. I had no experience, as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way, a truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Sadako looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. Yeah, Mim, I too feel like he could have gone home for dinner and then snuck out and dug the hole tonight. Not quite sure why he doesn't. Maybe he feels like he has to be well rested to actually kill someone to have the strength. Although, that being said, I don't know how well you would actually sleep the night before you plan on murdering someone. Yes, deep in my heart my knees were shaking. That is totally how the body works. I've never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. You've won fights to your dissatisfaction? Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was larger and far older than me. He had a scary face. Ooh. And he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. But was the actual murder the most important part? What unsettled me the most? Was murdering the person the most unsettling part about murdering the person? Probably. All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations. Apparently he's now rhyming. If I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maibara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life. the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. I'm interested to see how childbirth goes for him. A day of murder, to kill someone for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Yes, Mim, biology is clearly our strong suit. I mean, these kind of look like a nervous system kind of look. Those mild spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my bicycle hard to get back home. It looks like taco night? I'm not quite sure how that looks like taco night. Unless you literally, like, kill the cow in your backyard and there's blood everywhere. I felt somehow unsteady. Like my body and soul weren't in alignment. Well, you've just gone from being, like, chaotic good to chaotic evil. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the greatest barrier I'd risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Would you chaotic neutral, maybe? I don't know. I guess you could argue it's still chaotic good. It's definitely chaotic. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maibara. That will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution. Then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. It was the first time I'd be calling Mion's house. I searched for a number in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. 12345. It was around dinner time. She would probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver.
はい、園崎です。
あ、夜分遅くにすみません。ミオンか。
え、どちら様です？
俺だよ、ケイジだ。
ああ、ケイちゃんか。何こんな時間に。
What up? She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood as she drew her syllables out. Right, it's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks. Yes, actual voice dialogue. It's not just Popeye reads.
悪いな、こんな時間に。今、時間は大丈夫か？
うん。何？
サトコのことなんだけど。
Why can't he just be like a normal anime character and just say everything he's thinking out loud? Make my life much easier. I heard her draw in a small breath on the other end. Or, you know, just add sound effects for this. Yes, I've been clearly stating my intent to murder someone for the past, 50 minutes.
サトコ、大変なことになっちゃったね。
I'm sure this won't be like Exhibit A in my murder trial shortly.
大丈夫かな？
The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice.
大丈夫なわけないだろう。お前も見ただろ。あれ。あんな擦り切れるまでにいじめ抜かれて。俺たちはあんなになるまでずっと見捨ててきた。
見捨ててたわけじゃないよ。
みんな助けようとして必死に考えてたよ。
でも結局何も思いつかなかったし、聡子を救えたわけじゃないだろう。結局あんなになるまで俺たちは何もできなかった。
そうだね。
I mean, you also missed Mim was it last episode or 2 episodes ago, where we went over to her house and asked her to kill her uncle in our stead. So I mean, I think we kind of blew that out of the water a while ago.
私は結局見てただけかも。
だからさ、せめて一夜くらい遊ばせてやろうじゃないか。
え？遊ばせるって？
あいつもいろいろと参ってるのわかるだろう。だからさ、明日の綿流しのお祭りにあいつを連れて行ってやってほしいんだ。
それは構わないけど、どうして？
Definitely not murder.
どうしてって、せめて祭りの夜くらい息抜きさせてやりたいじゃないか。たとえ一夜でもあの意地悪なおじの元から離れられるなら、短い時間でもきっと聡子は喜ぶ。
だからどうして？
どうしてって何がだよ。
I was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me.
どうして？ケイちゃんが連れて行ってあげないの？
Of course she knows, Mim. I mean, we asked you to murder him, you said no, and then we're like, hey, can you, make sure she's out of the house between the hours of 6 and midnight?
私に頼まなきゃならないの？
Mion was persistent about odd things. It's not really that odd.
俺、実はちょっと明日は用事があってさ、祭りには行けない。だから聡子、ミオンが連れて行ってやってほしい。
用事って？
大した用事じゃないんだ。
It's nothing major. Just murder, you know. It's pretty minor, all things considered.
多分すぐに片付くと思うけど、ひょっとすると明日は合流できないかもしれない。なあ、ミオン。明日の夜だけ聡子を頼めないか。
Mion took a long time to give her reply. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now. I think we're the ones acting weird. Like she was flustered by emotions or something. Those silly emotions. Always getting in the way.
いや。
Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you crying?
私嫌だって言ったじゃない。私なんかに押し付けられても困るって。
別に押し付けるつもりなんかないよ。明日の夜だけでいいんだ。
嘘だったじゃない。
What? Mion, what was she talking about?
綿流しの夜だけって言って結局ずっとだった。嘘つき。でもおあいこかな。私全然あなたとの約束守ってないから。あの子はずっとほったらかしだしね。
I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly now talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. All I could do was listen to her in a daze.
あれからずっと帰ってこないのに、あの子のことをもう一度押し付けるためだけに、また本当に ずるい人。ねえ、あなた、サトシ君、なんでしょう。
ミオ、さっきから何の話だ？
When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released.
あ、あはははは。ごめん。なんでもないの。ちょっと、ケイちゃんの今の電話にそっくりな電話を昔受けたことがあって。
それ、ひょっとしてサトシか？
Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver.
ごめんね。ちょっと私、寝ぼけてるみたい。変なとこで感情的になっちゃった。ごめんね。焦ったでしょ。
I had no idea how it happened, but I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion and told her to bring Sadako to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I just did.
サトシ、祭りに行かなかったんだな。
うん。用事があるから自分は行けないって言って、代わりに私にサトコを祭りに連れて行ってくれって。
その時、サトシも言ったんだな。サトコを頼むって。
うん。言ったよ。明日の夜だけ頼むってね。ケイちゃんの言い方があまりにもよく似てたんで。ちょっと思い出して取り乱しちゃった。
I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. Mion kept going after that. That he was lying. That he told her would only be for the night of the festival.
そうだったな。サトシはその数日後に消えた。
Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning Sadako.
そう。天候でもなく、家出でもなく、消えたの。
And then, an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made the exact same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same phone call? If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where their aunt was beaten to death, that's... could it?
サトシだ。
え？何が？
Last year, Sadako had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt too. Her aunt abused her the most. And on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it?
去年、サトコのおばが殴り殺されたじゃないか。あれ、サトシってことは考えられないか？
No, but that would mean... Then Satoshi, he was a coward who abandoned Sadako and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Sadako? It was unthinkable. Not like we're doing the exact same thing.
私も実はそれを疑ったことがある。サトシには悪いけど。
A few days later, he disappeared. On Sadako's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But, now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. That was why the corpse of their aunt beaten to death was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in his anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He'd permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi. He wished for a return to peaceful days with Sadako, and though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then, he wanted to at least hold out until Sadako's birthday, but finally, they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he'd amassed to buy Sadako a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He would buy the stuffed animal as her gift, and then get caught. Or he could use the money and disappear. That was the choice he'd been forced to make. And he decided not to make Sadako the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, then it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Sadako happy, he had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings, and disappeared to Tokyo, if the rumors were true.
サトシはそれで消えたのか。
それはわからない。大石なんかはそう思ってるみたいだけどね。
Oishi. Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit?
確かに状況証拠は揃ってるけど、多分ケイちゃんの推理は外れだと思う。県内のどっかで捕まったろくでなしが犯行を自供したっていうし。
That was right. The deviant had confessed and the incident was solved.
そいつは本当にただの異常者で、ひなみ沢とは何の縁もない男だったって。もちろんサトシとも何の関係もない。だからそんな奴がサトシの身代わりになって嘘をついてくれたなんて到底思えないし。
You couldn't just arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it was really a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish.
それに、サトシには逃亡資金なんてなかったと思う。サトシが預金を下ろした日、これは誰に言っても信じてくれないんだけど、サトコのために買うと言ってたぬいぐるみが売れてショーケースからなくなってたの。きっとサトシが買ったに違いない。
ちょっと待てよ。逃走資金に使わないでぬいぐるみを買うために使ったならサトコのところへ帰るはずだろ。ぬいぐるみを買ってそれを届けもせずに蒸発するなんて考えられない。
うん。だからわからなくなっちゃうんだよ。まとまったお金があるならともかく、貯金を全部使っちゃったならサトシは無一文。お金もなく逃亡生活ができるほど世の中は甘くないよ。
I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we even got on this topic.
ごめん。どこで話が脱線しちゃったんだか。
I like to imagine, meanwhile, our parents are standing behind us being like, So, why are you talking about someone, murdering someone else?
サトコの件ね、安心していいよ。実はもうちゃんと誘ってあるんだよ。
え？本当かよ。
祭りの準備でみんなで神社に行った時さ、サトコを祭りに呼ぼうって話になったんだよ。
I mean, did you really imagine your friends wouldn't invite her?
それで 集会所の電話でそのまま電話して誘ったんだ。おじのやつよそよそしくて勝手にしろみたいな感じだったけど、とりあえず OK はしてくれた。明日みんなで待ち合わせしていくことになってるんだよ。安心した？サトシ。
バカ、俺はサトシじゃないって。
I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Sadako had already been invited to the festival. And not in a way that smelled of blood, a way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Sadako to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for that slight difference.
すまないな。俺が電話をするまでもなかった。昨日にしろ今日にしろ変な話ばかりしてすまないな。忘れてくれ。
こっちこそ本当に申し訳ない。柄にもなく取り乱しちゃって本当にごめん。
We apologized to each other for a little bit.
じゃあ俺はこれで失礼するな。おやすみ。
何の用事？
As if interrupting our parting words, Mion stuck straight where it hurt.
それもまたサトシと同じように言えない？
バカ。だから俺はサトシじゃないって言ってるだろ。
うん。そんなのは分かってるよ。
I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that.
じゃあ今度こそおやすみな。
どうしてケイちゃんがサトシ君と全く同じ電話をしてきたのかわからないけれど。なんでもない。ごめんね。おやすみ。
切るぞ。
Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I don't know what to think. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, their aunt's death and Satoshi's disappearance, and now me trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi the day before the curse. No, that wasn't all. We start back from Sadako being abused, and I had been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then, as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. But that was the extent to which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, and more calculating. I could actually grow calmer the more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of the world, and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi has been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then, too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini, even now, the kind worthy of Sadako's love? I'd never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I'd never felt that way before. Okay, so that was the end of the chapter. We have one new tip to read. It's a very verbose name, for the attention of those on the housewife slaughter incident case. Sounds like a bit of light reading. Let's dive in. July, redacted 1982. Okinomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi. Redacted Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. It's very wordy division. Shishibone Branch Head, redacted. Regarding incident, redacted. Design as undercover designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found that is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okinomiya Police Station, ex Hinamizawa Village housewife slaughter incident. During investigation of suspect redacted who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there were testimony related to the crime in question, and as part of it, we learned that the criminal had information only he could have known. Therefore, this record of testimony, duplicate attached, will be provided to you. If this testimonial is to be believed, then there is an extremely high chance that suspect redacted was the culprit behind the incident in question. In addition, the head investigator on the case received this report and inquired as to the incident with the Okinomiya Police Station. But the responsible party at Okinomiya Station who responded to the designated undercover investigation announced by the Prefectural Police General Director on July 1st, 1982, Osamu Fusakane B1-12 misunderstood, and did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator on the case properly. Because of this, the case's head investigator was not aware of the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question, and as a result was negligent when combing the scene. We apologize for having left it in the dark until now. In addition, there is a postscript stating that the suspect redacted died while in confinement yesterday on some date. Do we not get to read the attached portion? Apparently we do not. Okay, well that was the 9th chapter. Thanks for everyone who came out and helped us plan a murder. We'll be back next Thursday, same time, around 6:30 Eastern Time, to hopefully commit our murder, which I'm sure will go perfectly. But yes, once again, thank you for coming. Everyone, take care, stay safe, plan your murders better. Better yet, don't do them at all. Yes, ma'am, that is a reference to Satoshi's murder. So, in his murder case, or in the case where we suspect he murdered the aunt, there was actually a person on drugs who was arrested and confessed to the crime of beating up his aunt. So that was a reference which basically said there's been a testimonial that has information that only the murderer could know. And if it's indeed valid, probably it didn't exactly go into details, but if it had something like where the murder weapon might be, or some other related information that they could verify. But yes. Yeah, thank you again to everyone. I will catch you all again next time. Bye.